In this video, I'm going to show you how to create an annual payroll and holiday calendar in Microsoft Excel. This is a great calendar view that you can give to your new hires employees, and it will highlight all of the pay dates and company paid holidays, as well as any other special events that you want to highlight throughout the year. Here's our annual payroll and holiday calendar that I've created. This template is available for purchase, and I'll include a link in the description below if you want to get jump started on this. It's going to include a static version as well as a dynamic version that is going to have some of the automatic conditional formatting in there. And some of that is going to include that we are going to automatically highlight pay dates and holidays from our payroll schedule over here on the first tab. So this is an example of a biweekly payroll schedule. You could update this with your own payroll schedule and paycheck dates, but we're looking at these dates over here and then automatically highlighting those over on the calendar. So same thing down here with our company paid holidays. And then the calendar view, once you're done with your calendar and you wanted to generate this for your employees, you can actually take a look at the print preview up here to see what it looks like. This is a vertical annual calendar display, and you can save this as a PDF and where you can post it online or send it out to your new hires or employees, and they can view it and print it out if they want to and use this to refer to throughout the year. So that's what your calendar will look like when you're done setting it up. So I'm going to go back out here. And so the first thing we're going to do is I'm going to show you how you would set this up from scratch if you want to create your own. And so let's go ahead up here and click on New, and we'll start with a blank Excel workbook. All right, so we know the first thing that we want to consider is whether we want this to be a vertical calendar, annual calendar, or a horizontal. So if we want this to be horizontal, which is a little different than the layout that I created, all we have to do is come up to Page Layout, click on Orientation, and click on Landscape. And this way we can maybe fit 4 monthly grids across the top of the page, and then the rest of the months down in 3 rows. And so to do that, what we want to do is kind of start down here. We're going to leave some room at the top to put our calendar title and maybe our logo and things like that. So we want to start down here, and we know that we want our monthly grid to have 7 columns. And so that's going to represent the 7 days of the week. So if we start with Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, that'll be B through H. We highlight those columns, and then we are going to squeeze the width in. We're going to decrease that width, let's say down to 3.26. And so now we have this is going to be the start of our first monthly grid. And we know that we want to do 4 month grids across on this horizontal layout. So I'm going to do the same thing for those other monthly grids. Okay, now we want to create the number of rows down that we want our monthly grids. We want 6 rows for the weeks so that we can encompass all the weeks that might fall into that monthly grid. And we want 2 rows at the top. We want 1 row to be the name of the month, and then the next row will be the days of the week. And then we want those 6 rows for the actual dates in that calendar month. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then let's just come up to Home and click on our borders and do all borders to create that grid. So the first thing we're going to do is select the first row up there, come up to Merge and Center and hit that. This is going to be our first month of January. The next row is going to be our days of the week. We're going to start with Sunday and go from there. All right, let's do a little bit of formatting. Let's select our month, the cell with our month right here, and let's make this dark green, and then we'll make the text white, and we'll make this bold, and we'll increase the font size just a little bit. And then our days of the week, let's select those rows. Let's put a lighter green, and we'll make those bold and center align those. So just to give your calendar grid a little bit of formatting, and then you'll be able to copy this and repeat it when you create the rest of your monthly grids. So let's go ahead and copy and paste so that we can create the rest of our grids across the top. I'm going to select all and hit Control C to copy, and then I'm going to place my cursor where I want to paste and hit Control V to paste. All right, notice that we have this faint dotted line where the page is going to break, and we don't want that to happen. We want this to fit all onto one page. So in order to do that, we're going to come back up to page layout, and we're going to go to margins, click on custom margins, and then click on the page tab and select fit one-to-one, and then click OK. And that's going to ensure that our calendar will fit onto one page. Now let's go ahead and create our monthly grids for the rest of the year. All right, up at the top to do your formatting at the top, all you have to do is select some cells. If you want to merge and center, you can come to the Home tab, click on Merge and Center. If you wanted a blank area where you wanted to insert your logo, you could do that up here. And let's say we want to have our title of our calendar up here at the top. We can select where we want that to go, hit Merge and Center. We can realign that to maybe be on the left and in the middle, and we can just type Payroll and Holiday Calendar. I'm going to hit enter, but now I'm going to come back and select that cell, that merged cell, and format it. Let's update the font and the size. And we can update the color. We can pick a color here, or if we have a custom color that our company might use, you can always go to More Colors and then select the custom area. You can, if you have the RGB values, you can type those there, or the hex number, and then you can have a custom branded color, whatever color you want. And we'll merge some cells here to put the year. And let's just align that in the middle and make it larger. And we'll pick the same color. Then over here, you can put your key. So for example, if you want your paydays to be a certain color of fill, you can do that. You could select your color over here and then select a border around that cell. And then that would be your key, and that would be a holiday, let's say. And so that's how you would create the format for your calendar. And if you want to take a look at what this is going to look like when you print it out, you can come up to Print Preview. If you don't have the Print Preview up here, you can add this to your Quick Access toolbar, or you can always just go to File and go to Print. And this will give you a view of what it's going to look like before it prints. And so we see that we do have a little bit of space down here at the bottom. We can add an extra box, maybe for some extra instructions or information down there at the bottom of the calendar. So if I go back, I can go down here at the bottom. So I can highlight this area here where I want to put a box with some extra information or instructions. Click on Merge and Center. I can select a border and then just say instructions here. And maybe I want to align those over on the left and at the top. And then if I want to print preview to see what that will look like, then that shows you the full view of what your calendar will look like if you print to PDF. All right, let's go back. I'm going to click my back button here. Now, the next thing I want to show you is how you can correctly autofill the dates in your monthly calendar grids. So let's start with January 1st. So if we pull up an actual calendar, we can see that January 1st starts on a Sunday. And then we see that February 1st starts on a Wednesday. So with that, we can create our monthly grids correctly. So let's start and put the date 1/1/23 here on Sunday. And I'm going to hit enter. Now, remember that we changed the width of our columns, so that date is not going to display. It's too long to display in there, so it displays right now as just the 3 hashtags. But we know if we hover over there, it's showing the date in there. So now all we have to do is select that and drag it over. And this will drag the date across correctly. However, if you notice, if you were to drag that down, it does not autofill the dates correctly in your month. It just drags the same dates down, and we don't want to do that. So I'm going to go ahead and delete those out. And what I want to do next is I'm going to say equals, and then I'm going to select this date and say +7 and hit enter. And so now we can see, after January 7th on Saturday, we want Sunday to show the 8th. And so we want to select that cell and drag it over. And now we can see that it's correctly displaying the dates. And then if we were to keep that selected and drag all the way down, we can see that now if we hover over any of the dates in that monthly grid, that they are the correct date. So that is how you would automatically fill the dates in your monthly grid. So you can do that for each of the months on your grid. So we know that February 1st is a Wednesday. So we're going to say 2/1/23 and hit enter. And then what we can do is select that and we're going to drag backwards to fill in the dates before then. And then we're going to drag forward to fill in the dates in advance. And then we can do our trick to take the previous date and add 7. So we'll say equals, we're going to select this cell, say +7, enter. And now we can drag our monthly grid over and all the way down. So do that for each of the months in your grid. Once you have all of your monthly grids filled in, we want to have the day of the month appear. So what we would do is we would select all of our monthly grids. So I'm going to highlight that. I'm going to hold the control key and then I'm going to select February. So you can hold your control key and if you wanted to, you could select all of your monthly grids that way. And then what you want to do is come up to the number area, click on this little icon to expand the Format Cells window. On the Number tab, come down to Custom. Clear out what's in the type here, just highlight it and hit backspace and then type a D and then just come down and click on OK. And that is going to display the number of the day for your calendar grid. So it keeps the date in there, which is what you want in order to do some conditional formatting and some other neat tricks on your calendar, but it displays as the day as you normally would see on a calendar view. Now, once you have all of your monthly grids set up, let's take a look at some of the conditional formatting tricks that you can do. So let's go back to the template that I have already created, and we'll take a look at how we can make the pay dates and the holidays automatically highlight. And so what we're going to do is actually use a VLOOKUP formula that we're going to put into the conditional formatting area that we're going to look at these dates. So we wanted to take the dates from our payroll schedule tab. So over here on our biweekly payroll schedule, we want to look at the array over here, this column of dates. And if this date appears over here on our calendar, we want it to highlight in green since it's a payday. So here is how we do that. So over here, I have this formula already laid out for you. And so let me just walk you through what this is. It's an actual VLOOKUP formula that's looking up the value of the first cell in our January monthly grid. And so that's the lookup value that it is looking up this date, and it's going to look for a date in this range of dates on the other tab. That range of dates, which is F3 to F28, which is anchored by $signs, so it's a fixed area that it's going to look up from F3 down to F28. It's going to look for that date in that range. And then once it finds that date, if there is a match, it will display that match. And so if there's not a match, then it won't do the formatting. And what we want to do is wrap that VLOOKUP formula in what's called isNumber, because we want the value to be true or false. And so what we're going to do is actually take this formula and we are going to copy it. And then we're going to put this into a conditional format. So I'm going to highlight it and copy the formula. And then let's do this for the month of April. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come down to the month of April and I'm going to select the entire month in my grid here. And I'm going to come up to, on the Home tab, Conditional Formatting, and I'm going to say New Rule. I'm going to say use a formula to determine which cells to format. And in here, I'm going to paste that formula. Now remember, I was looking up in that first formula that I created to have the syntax for the formula. I used B10, which was January's date. So I'm going to update that to B19. But I'm still looking in the same fixed area of columns. I'm still looking at that biweekly payroll schedule and all the dates in there. And I want that to return and format as a green highlight if it finds that date. So once I have the formula in there, I'm going to come down here to Format. And I am going to click on the Fill tab, and then I'll select the color that I want to use for my paydays, and then I'll click OK, and then we'll click OK. And then this is going to highlight the different paydays in April. So it's highlighting, it actually captured the previous March 31st, as well as the 14th and the 28th. So if we look back at our payroll schedule, it captured the 31st, the 14th, and the 28th on our monthly grid, which is correct. Now, let's do the same thing and look at highlighting any holidays. So what we're going to want to do is create a formula that will look up for those holiday dates, right? So we're going to do the same thing. We'll do VLOOKUP. So I'm just going to come over here to a cell where I can type out the formula that I'll use to copy and paste, and then later on we can delete these cells since we don't need them. I'm just going to hit equals and say VLOOKUP, open parentheses, and the lookup value, I'm going to select the first date in that monthly grid, and then I'm going to hit comma, and then we're going to look at the table array on this other payroll schedule. We want to look up the holidays. So I'm going to scroll down and select all of the different holidays. So this is where it's going to look up to see if it finds the date in this range. And I want to fix this range. I don't want this range to shift if I were to copy the formula somewhere else. So I want to hit F4 or function F4 depending on your keyboard. And notice what that does is it puts dollar signs around the column, and this anchors it or fixes it or locks it in place so that it's going to continue to look at that same array or range when it's looking for that value. So now all I have to do is come up here and type another comma. For column index number, I'm just going to type a 1. Since we're not looking up in a range of columns, we just hit 1, comma, and then we can type false or use 0. And now we're going to close our parentheses and hit enter. We hit enter and it brings us back over here to our other spreadsheet. Now it's returning a hashtag NA because VLOOKUP didn't find a date from that range in that particular cell. And so now what we want to do is wrap that in the is number. So I'm going to select the cell, come back up here to the formula bar, and right after the equals, I'm going to type is number. And then open parentheses, and then come to the very end and close the parentheses and hit enter. And now that gives us a true false. So this is the formula with this particular range of cells that we want to look up to highlight the holidays. So I'm going to copy this now, hit Control C. I'm going to come to the end, hit enter. And then what I want to do is actually highlight my April monthly grid. And then I'm going to come up to conditional formatting on the Home tab, click on a new rule. I'm going to use a formula to determine which cells to format, and I'm going to type my formula here. And this time I want to format holidays with this orange color here. So I'm going to click OK, and I'll click OK. And there we have one holiday in April that shows up here as highlighted. So you would be able to apply the same conditional formatting to each of your monthly grids by simply selecting the monthly grid and copying that formula into the conditional formatting just like we did for April. For example, J19 in the case of May, and then you would update that cell to be R19 in the case of June. All right, the next trick I want to show you is how you can either gray out the dates or hide them altogether if you don't want to display the dates before and after the month in your monthly grid. So for example, in your February monthly grid, if you want to gray out the January and the March dates, you can do that easily using a conditional formatting formula. I'll show you how to do that where you gray it out or hide it. So let's do that with April. Let's go ahead and select the entire monthly grid here. And let's go up to conditional formatting and click on new rule. Click on use the formula, and we're going to type equals month. We're going to open a parentheses, and we're going to say cell B19, and that is the first cell in our monthly grid for April. So for each month that you want to do this for, you would put the first cell in that monthly grid. We're going to close the parentheses, and then we're going to hold our shift key and type in the syntax for does not equal, which are these little caret icons that you can type, and that is telling Excel when the month that's displaying in that first cell does not equal, and then we want to say month, open parentheses, and then select a day that's in the middle of that month. So for example, April 12th, and then we're going to close the parentheses, and then let's say we want to format this as a gray text. So we'll come to the font tab and come down to color, and let's select a gray text here and click OK. And so then we're going to click OK, and notice that here in our April calendar view, the days that fall in March as well as the days that fall in May are now displaying in gray. Now, if we want to actually hide those dates and not show them in gray, but make the cell look blank, yet keep the dates in there for our formatting, then all we have to do is come back and modify this conditional formatting, the format, just a little bit. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and back and select the month of April, come back to our conditional formatting, and let's say manage rules. It'll automatically show the current selection, and so I can pick the formatting here, this gray formatting that I want to modify. I can double click to open that up. And now to change this, I can click on Format. And instead of the color, I want to come over here to the number area, and I'm going to click Custom. And instead of type general, I'm going to backspace, and I'm going to just type 3 semicolons in a row. And then click OK. And click OK. And then we're going to apply that formatting. And now notice that if we click OK, it will close our window here. And notice over here on our monthly grid that the date is still in there behind the scenes. You can see it up here in the formula bar, but it's hidden from the calendar view. So either way that you want to use that formatting trick, you can do that and format all of your calendar grids the same way. Okay, one last thing to show you would be if we scroll back up here to the top, and let's say that one of our pay dates changes for whatever reason. Let's change our date from January 20th to the 19th on our payroll schedule over here. So we'll come up to our check date and say 1/19/23 and hit enter, and then we come back over to our calendar. Notice that the conditional formatting is now going to highlight the actual pay date of the 19th in green. So that's the advantage of setting up your calendar to have these automatic dates in the cells so that you can apply the conditional formatting and then make any updates that's automatically updated when you need to update your schedule. Remember, you can download the template that we used today. It'll be a link in the description below the video. It'll also be in the merch shelf. And every time you purchase one of my templates, it helps to support this channel, and I really appreciate it. If you found this video helpful, be sure and give it a thumbs up. To like it, you can subscribe to my channel and click the bell to receive a notification every time I post a new video. Be sure and visit my website, SharonSmithHR.com. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.